Hey guys, it's Nicole, and I'm back with the second layout from the Super Savers portion of the April 2013 Super Sketch Club kit from Scrapbook Generation. This one was really quick, mostly because it was just a couple strips of paper and this large circle that you cut out of one of the pattern papers. And in the instructions, they had said, if you have a manual die cutter, go ahead and just cut your circle on that. Or Debbie mentioned in her instructions that she just traced a dinner plate and freehand cut it. And for whatever reason, something with trying to cut a circle, I decided I was going to use my Cameo, and I wanted it to be as perfect as I possibly could because it was a circle. And then I could not find anywhere on the instructions that said, how much of it was on the left and how much of it was on the right. So I just kind of eyeballed it when I went to cut the circle into two pieces. And I just used the sample photos right there that I had printed out to kind of eyeball it. And then I decided to go ahead and ink the edges of my photos for this layout as well. Mostly because before I started the camera and I had kind of laid everything out, I noticed that my photos just kind of looked, I wouldn't say that they got lost on the white cardstock. They just kind of had like an unfinished feeling to them. And I didn't want to matte them because if I was going to matte photos, I tend to go with white cardstock, and that would have just been white on white. So I decided to just go ahead and ink the edges of my photos with the same brown ink that I'm inking all the papers in as well. And it's subtle and you can barely see it on the video, but in person it was just kind of just enough to help sort of define the edges of the photos and just kind of give them a more finished look. So I don't think I did that on the first layout, but after I did it on layout number 2, I went ahead and did it on layout number 3 just because I liked the look. And layout number 3 also had where one of the photos is hanging over onto the white cardstock. So here I'm just notching the ends of the strips of paper that I cut following the cutting guide, and that's all in the first video for this series. And I'm just using the instructions and the color samples to figure out where they go, the spacing, if there's a gap or if it's flush to the photos and stuff like that. And like I said, this one was really fast, mostly because there just wasn't a whole lot to put down. It was just the circle, a couple strips of paper, a couple pieces of chipboard, and your photos, and bam, you're done. And I kind of like that because sometimes when I do these kits, I actually have to sit and only do 10 minutes here and 10 minutes here. And this was one of the few that I could actually sit down, and I want to say it took me 20-25 minutes to put the whole thing together, and I was able to do it in one sitting, one video clip, and it was just kind of, nice to get one done really quickly. And these other strips that I'm inking are the manufacturer strip or the branding strip that was at the bottom of the paper. They a lot of times will use every little scrap of paper on the Super Savers portion, and I made sure when I was cutting the papers that I kind of read through the cutting guide a couple times and the instructions for each of the layouts, because I tend to miss that little note that they put in there, and I usually find myself digging through the garbage trying to find them. So this time I kind of had them in the back of my mind to look out for those little notes, so I was glad I didn't have to go digging through the garbage to find those, and they were where they needed to be. And that green family one that I'm putting down, I didn't do it in the video, and I'm still kind of thinking about it. I may go back before I put the layout in my album. I may go back and just kind of add some stamped words across it or something. I don't know. I kind of felt like having that big open spot that was kind of intended for you to maybe journal on or something needed something. But while I was putting it together, I just wasn't coming up with, I just couldn't think of what I wanted to put on there, so I kind of just set it aside, and before I put it back on my album, I'll kind of make a decision on that. And this is just the close-up clusters of the chipboard that I went ahead and put on there too, and another shot of the final layout. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.